Any advice for people watching, maybe my age range, 40 to 50. So the Gen Xers, they've never had a mentor. Where would they go to find one? How do they do that? Can you just give some advice or
Wow,
tips?
I've never been asked that. That's very cool. How do you shop mentors? Right? Just go on Google and say, I want a mentor. That's a really good question. That's honestly, that's a rare question from a Generation X. I studied Gen X really, really well. They're mostly in their 40s and 50s. By the way, Gen X males are totally different than Gen X females. I'm going to be analyzing the generations to a new level soon. But Generation X, it's interesting you ask that because where should they go, to find a mentor or learn these lessons? Sounds funny. This is right from my heart. First of all, they need to ask themselves. Okay, because here's a trait of Gen X. You ready, Val? Especially males. They don't think so, but a lot of them tend to know it all. They're really rocking busy in life. I was always said Gen X males are running the world. Those are all our world leaders and stuff. But I would say just decide that you actually want to learn. So there's a tendency. I'll tell you, this is a great segue here on that issue because I remember Mark Lamb. Mark Lamb had told us a story at our campfire chat in 2022. He brought up that was an hour and 15-minute interview around a campfire with Sheriff Mark Lamb before he was even running for the Senate. And he had shared so many things that he's really never talked about publicly. But one thing that I remember real specifically, and it applies to this, he had said that Generation X dropped the ball. I'd never heard it this way. It's very convicting. He said Generation X, again, they're in their 40s and 50s. They learned from baby boomers, which is my generation, and of course seniors, which are the older folks. Gen X, generally, they love their grandparents, and that was seniors. So they learned from this, we call it 1950s handshake world, but, the Norman Rockwell world, that's a wonderful life world when things made sense. And so Gen X has learned from that generation, but for some reason, they seem to have not passed it on to the younger generation. Meaning, if anyone thinks the millennials or Gen Zs, he didn't have regret for himself because he has just been a tremendous father and stuff. But Generation X as a generation, he said maybe a little too self-absorbed or into their own thing or know it all because they've watched their parents, boomers and stuff, make all the mistakes, institutions imploding right before our eyes. Boomers ran up insane personal debt. They had to have two dual incomes. We used to call it DINKs, dual income, no kids, in order to pay for their new lifestyle of debt. And this is baby boomers. And Gen X, a lot of Gen X, especially males, kind of resent the fact that boomers kind of ran the show like that, and as I say, kind of ran the country into debt a little bit with indulgence and materialism. So the Mark's contention was, for whatever reason it seems like Gen X didn't pass it on because the younger kids sure don't seem like they've had leadership or mentorship. And what do you do then? You decide you want to learn. You decide in your heart that you want to learn and grow and wake up in kindergarten every day. And I find this, mentors are all around you if you just ask them. I've always, as a rule, I've always gone to people in usually certain businesses or an area that I really want to get to know or learn. And as my other rule was, go to the top. Amazing mentors that are at the top because they made it to the top, so they can save you a lot of time of good advice and not making mistakes. But I think they're right in front of you. As funny as it sounds, you'll know leaders out there. You know them just like we talked earlier. You'll always know who the leader is of a group, and very often they're reluctant leaders. They don't necessarily need to be the leaders. Those are the best leaders. Beware a leader who would take down the whole ship because he can't be captain. There's more and more of those out there right now, especially in Washington, D.C. You want to take down the whole ship because you can't be captain? You're